So, in the 80s, Fender started something that I think they had actually done a little bit earlier, but they really pushed it into new boundaries in the 80s, which was to make guitars with the Fender name in all kinds of different places. Korea, I think the original Indonesian ones, Japanese, Mexican, all these Chinese guitars started showing up with the Fender logo on them. And this guitar is one of the ones that was made in Korea. It is a 1986 Fender Newporter, and it is from the California series, which of course means nothing when it is being talked to about the Fender lineup, because saying it's a California series just means they designed it in California, just like they do everything else that comes out of most of their factories in California. Now, there are exceptions to this rule. The Japanese market has several Japanese exclusive guitars that are just made in Japan, only sold in Japan, and they were designed and developed in Japan. That said, they're some of the best Fender guitars ever. But this is just one of those guitars that is a all laminate body. It's laminate top, laminate back and sides, and it is supposed to be mahogany. Now, what's layered in there with the mahogany? Is it just laminated mahogany, or is it something else? That's a good question. And I'm not completely sure anybody knows what the laminates in the middle is. If it's like a maple laminate or what. The bracing looks to be solid, so I really don't know. But this guitar in 1986, my dad went down to H&N Music in Rosenberg, Texas, and bought for me as a gift, saying it was for me. It was really for him. But deep down inside, he couldn't justify it to my mom. And at $186 and $1986, that was probably more like about the $600-ish today price range. So he couldn't really justify this guitar unless he said it was for me, because that way I would have a guitar for myself while he had his 63 Gibson Dove to play with me. And for the first few years that we owned this guitar, it mostly was played by him. I was not nearly as interested in it until I was 16, 17 years old. And then I came to the realization 4 years into it that everybody could play my guitar but me. So I sat down with a Mel Bay guitar book and learned how to play. And this guitar is the guitar. It has traveled all across the United States. It has been to Alabama, Georgia, several other places. I've got friendship bracelets still hanging on it from high school. It has had a bone nut added to it with a bone saddle and ebony bridge pins that have been brought on board to help it stay more in tune and resonate better. And at the end of the day, I think it just plays right. And it rings out. And it just rings and rings and rings. And finally, just now stopped. So the question then is a laminate body guitar that's well cared for something that is a bad deal, or can they last forever just like the solid body guitars are? And I think this guitar right here makes a case for any laminate guitar, being well maintained and upgraded to a good point, can become a really good guitar. And a $200 guitar with a couple 400, maybe $200 or $300 worth of really good upgrades can make a decent guitar into a great guitar. And this one has all the makings of a basic guitar. I mean, look, it doesn't even have like branded tuners. They're just generic tuners. And this one was, like I say, a Korean made guitar. So these guitar tuners could be any brand or no brand in particular. It does not have a preamp or anything on it. Thought about putting a K&K Pure Mini on it, but at the end of the day, I just don't play it enough, and I've got guitars that do have pickups on them, so why? You know, why add something to a guitar that's, 35-ish years old that doesn't need it? And the simplicity of this guitar has always made me happy. I can pick it up and play it, and it sounds good. It's easy to play. The neck is a little thicker than the Dove, but it's still, again, you can hang your finger over and play you can bring that thumb over and play on that top string without any problem. I mean, like I say, even on my little old stubby fingers. So, this guitar, though, has always been a fun instrument to play. It has been a fun instrument to own. I have never really had any problems with it. It has given me hours and hours and hours and hours of enjoyment. And like I say, it makes a really good case for what a guitar can be if it's maintained. These, there are guitars from the 50s and 60s that are laminate guitars. Gibson, for instance, has made laminate guitars in the form of arch tops and hollow bodies for decades. And the 335, for instance, there are 335s they're in amazing shape even now and sound just as good as they did when they were, probably even better now that they have been played and used and opened up over the years. So the same apparently is true for acoustics, and even for questionably sourced acoustics. So that's the thing to take away from this one, is this guitar, for its for going in and buying something that was a mediocre guitar, the original plastic nut and saddle were breaking up. Kevin Perry at Great Southern Music in Houston, Texas, is who did the work on this guitar as well, and it has never had a failure since. It has been absolutely one of the best values we've ever bought. Interestingly enough, it was only a little bit cheaper than Dad's Dove was when it was in 1963. So, by way of comparison, pretty good little guitar. But it does have, the right strings and the right appointments will make a guitar into something that will make you happy. And this is one of those guitars. It's all right. Just a little guitar from a guitar shop in a little town, middle of nowhere. That's where I got my start, and I am 99% positive that these are the kind of stories that make guitars from guitars that are just collections of wood and metal into guitars that share a story that can be told and retold over and over again. And like I say, this was the guitar that I started on. And this one, plus a Mel Bay guitar book, made everything start when I was a boy. That's all it took. Till next time.